where you're coming from here. So this was on a video where I was saying, do folks in America not realize that food stamps and WIC and other programs like that for needy families, for hungry people, that those are actually USDA agricultural subsidies? And so when farmers vote against handouts, when conservative Republican farmers voted for Donald Trump, voted for gutting these programs and love to judge hungry folks, call them welfare queens, with how they love to rage against socialism, that those folks are shooting themselves in the foot, because in wanting to do away with or cut back these programs, they are ensuring that the subsidies that keep their farms going, those go away. We are watching America's farmers in the heartland start to wake up to the reality that their support of Donald Trump might cost them their farms. I'm frankly surprised they don't remember all of the farmers who went out of business during the first Trump administration. It was a lot, soybean farmers especially. Like, I understand the point that this person is making, right? Walmart, which is just a terrible, predatory business, on purpose pays their employees so little that they will qualify for food stamps, right? They pay them exploitive wages, and they rely on America's agricultural subsidy program to fund their profit margin, right? We are not going to pay our families, our employees, a living wage. We're going to keep it so low that we're going to have the government subsidize our business by getting those families food stamps and Medicaid as well. We're going to suppress their pay enough that they qualify for these programs. Like, I understand that that's what this commenter is saying here. And they're also saying that folks on food stamps, this is a very common belief, that folks are just buying soda and candy and steaks. Like, the conservative talking point is that they're just buying junk food and meat that, working class people can't afford. By the way, most people who take food stamps and who take WIC and are on assistance and who have kids on free and reduced lunch, those folks are working. They're working for places like Walmart. They are working class Americans. This is also an opportunity to remind you of who grows the corn that is turned into corn syrup. Do you not understand that allowing folks to buy sugary things or not allowing them to buy sugary things is not really that much about the health of people who are on those programs? I would posit that it is far more about what segment of the agricultural industry needs more subsidies. As a college student in Iowa, we had a train that cut through our campus, and every day it would just be ka-chunk, 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 these giant tankers full of corn syrup. Iowa, Nebraska, Illinois, Minnesota are main producers of corn for corn syrup. Those farmers are also getting agricultural subsidies, whether they are small family farms or giant agribusiness. But what we're seeing now under Trump is that small family farms are losing all of their subsidies. They're losing their grants that allow them to be competitive. The DEI, the E in DEI, is equity for small farmers. And that is all gone away under Trump. And small farmers voted for that. They voted for their own ability to compete in the marketplace with big agribusiness, for that to be obliterated, because they didn't want hungry people to not be hungry. They didn't want to see children be fed. I don't know. So now big agribusiness is going to be able to outcompete family farms, buy up those family farms when those folks have to sell, when they lose their family farm, when they lose their legacy. Big corporations, also hedge funds, waiting to sweep in and buy up that land. The goal here is to drive little family farms out of business and to consolidate all of the government funding under big agribusiness and to have all of us be workers for these giant corporations. If you think I'm wrong, just read anything that Elon Musk has written about what he thinks about workers. I'm going to keep ranting about this subject today because I didn't know how many people were like, this is the first I have heard of this, or come to understand that all of these welfare programs are really ag subsidies. And America's farmers are now incredibly conservative by and large. And the way they just voted in this election, despite the fact that so many of us were screaming at them like, this is going to hurt your farm, they didn't believe it. And now they're waking up, they're finding out. So is this a moment when America's farmers return to their roots as members of the working class and unite with the rest of us? I sure hope so. So I made a quick little video yesterday that I didn't realize was going to pop off. I didn't know that it wasn't common knowledge that so many of our welfare programs, our handouts that so many conservative Americans are opposed to, are all agricultural subsidies, food stamps, WIC, free and reduced lunch, as well as a lot of our overseas aid programs for hungry communities, for struggling communities in conflict. Those are all agricultural subsidies. We buy things like powdered milk, dried grains, rice, beans, ship them overseas as part of our food aid package. Those are all things that are grown in the United States by America's farmers. Food stamp money, the milk, cheese, peanut butter, beans, cereals that folks get from WIC, those are all USDA agricultural subsidies. Which is why it blows my mind that so many conservative farmers are opposed to what they see as handouts, not understanding that those handouts are actually to them, the farmer. They are taking the handout. Those are agricultural subsidies. That is the government paying for the foods that America's farmers grow and redistributing them to needy people here and abroad. Without those programs, a lot of small family farms are about to be real screwed. And I think it's so crucial as we're having this conversation about the ways that this regime is harming every working class American to gain some awareness of how all of these programs are interconnected and organized and designed to benefit working class folks all over the place. They are connected so that when farmers over here benefit, hungry people over here get fed. And that all of these programs that Musk and Trump are cutting are for one thing, and that is for tax cuts for billionaires. Men who have more money than they can spend in 10 lifetimes are seeking to enrich themselves by gutting the infrastructure, the funding that Congress has allocated that they know keeps America running, that keeps farmers in business and keeps people fed. We're going to find out more and more. I think more and more working class Republicans are going to find out how many of these programs benefited their communities in ways that they had not previously understood. This is an opportunity for us to get educated about what these programs really are, rather than just listening to Musk's tweets where he regurgitates lies, some of them 10-year-old nonsense. No, the government didn't spend $600 million on sushi. No, Chelsea Clinton didn't get $84 million. But do you know that the money for USAID and food stamps and free and reduced lunch and WIC that fed hungry people kept America's farmers in business? The more folks are impacted by the disastrous gutting of the federal government, Elon Musk unilaterally deciding that all of these things that Congress had passed because they understand the value of them, him deciding he's going to cut all those things in order to fatten his big, fat, chonky wallet even more. The more folks realize, the more they feel the impact of that, the more there's an opportunity for education and awareness. And out of that, I hope there comes awareness and solidarity and a united front. And I hope out of this can come working class solidarity, a united front where we all understand who our common enemy is. We understand who our common oppressor is. And we work to once again make this a country of the people, by the people, and for the people, not for a foreign billionaire. Food stamps were never about feeding the hungry. It was 100% to subsidize farmers. Yeah, I will never understand Republican farmers who are like, I'm voting to end these handouts. First of all, your farm takes a gajillion subsidies. As this young man, Skylar, is finding out, he's losing his $80,000 in subsidies from the government. But also, I used to work for WIC, and WIC really is an agricultural subsidy. It started that way, that's for sure. You ever wonder why moms on WIC get far more milk than any family can possibly consume? I know when we were on it, I was making yogurt and cheese out of it because it's just vast quantities of milk. Yeah, it's because it's really a subsidy for dairy farmers. You ever wonder why the main things you get on WIC are formula, cow's milk, cheese, cereals, wheat, corn, soybean, dairy farmers? I made a video talking about how WIC is actually an agricultural subsidy, and so many folks in the comments were like, that blows my mind. I was today years old when I learned that WIC and food stamps and free and reduced lunch are all programs that are meant to be agricultural subsidies that just happen to also feed hungry people. These are USDA programs that directly funnel money into America's farms. So when farmers are against welfare, against handouts, they are shooting themselves in the foot. Farmers who voted for Donald Trump, who is now gutting all of these programs, y'all shot yourselves in the foot. And in talking about WIC, I worked for WIC briefly. There is a ton of milk that you get, more than a lot of families can use. Also tons of peanuts and beans, cereals, because they're ag subsidies. These aren't convenience foods. These are foods that have to be cooked from scratch. I used to use WIC milk to make homemade cheese and homemade yogurt because there was 6 gallons of it. And we ate a ton of beans and split peas.